At this time, instead of focusing on the teachings of Islam, I would like to present something about its practical aspect. In one word, I can say that there is faith and there is applied faith. If you want to know what faith is, you can read and learn it from the Quran. But where will you find applied faith? You will find it in the life of the Prophet and in the lives of the Prophet's companions, whom we call Sahaba. In the Quran and Hadith, the Sahaba are presented as our role models. You will find the details of faith in the Quran. But if you want to understand applied faith, you will understand it through the lives of the companions of the Prophet, the Sahaba. At this moment, I would like to present some aspects from the lives of the Sahaba that illustrate the practical application of the Quran's teachings. In this regard, first I would like to say that the Sahaba's model is a unique model in all of history. Why? Because it is a historical model. It has a complete history. It is not a mythology. It is not a story. It is not a novel. So the Sahaba are historical characters. Each one of them is a historical character. Therefore, the model created through them is a historical model. This means that by reading their lives, we can be certain that such people existed in this world. It is not a story, a novel, a fiction, or a mythology. This is a very important point. We can see the character of the Sahaba as historical characters because they were born in this world, lived in this world, and adopted Islam or the Quran in their lives in this very world. I believe that the first and foremost quality I observe in the Sahaba is that they viewed the Quran from the Quran's own perspective, not from their own. Normally, people generally discover the Quran within their own framework, but the Sahaba were those people who discovered the Quran within its framework, the framework of the Quran itself. This is a very significant point. What happens is that people read their own ideas into the Quran. Their understanding is not a true understanding. These were people who read the Quran with an empty mind, as true seekers, and then they became its followers. In this respect, we can say that their model is completely trustworthy. It is a true model. These people, the group of Sahaba, are so important that God even mentioned them in previous scriptures, the books given to earlier prophets. Their prediction is present in those books, like the Bible, which came into the world before the Quran. Although it is not in its original form now, it still contains things that are very important for us. For example, there is a place in the Bible about a coming prophet. He came with 10,000 saints. You know that when the Messenger of Allah marched towards Mecca, he had 10,000 Sahaba with him. This event is so important that God wrote it in earlier books and presented it to people, so that when those people came, people would support them, recognize them, and seek guidance for their lives from them. Here, I would like to say that the concept of history, which I mentioned as a historical model, did not exist at that time. This was a very unique thing then. Why? Because, as you know, there were only two types of people in the world before: royal historians and storytellers. The royal historians wrote stories of kings, their victories, their defeats, their crowning ceremonies, and storytellers created stories from their own imagination and wrote grand tales. So the prevalent tradition in the world at that time was either the stories of storytellers or the history of royal historians, which only concerned kings, not society. Society was not considered worthy of being reported in history at that time. Its record would not appear in history. For the first time in known history, the Quran created the concept of history writing. For this, the Quran mentions Ayam Allah. Although, as you know, the Quran is not a history book. The Quran is a book of invitation, a book that delivers a message. Its style is invitational, not historical. But history writing first began, or its initiation, was in the Quran. For the first time, the Quran referred to historical events that were not mythology, not stories of storytellers. These were the events of the prophets and the nations addressed by the prophets, referred to as Ayam Allah. So this new mindset given for writing history, writing events, not just stories, and writing about the whole society, not just kings, this concept given by the Quran led Muslim historians to start writing. But its culmination happened during the time of Abdurrahman ibn Khaldun. Abdurrahman ibn Khaldun was a historian born in Spain, and he died in 1406. It is believed that Abdurrahman ibn Khaldun was the first person who gave history an academic status. As I mentioned, earlier history was just about writing stories of kings. So Ibn Khaldun, following the Quran, for the first time gave a new concept of history. You can see its details in his book Muqaddimah.